Hey guys, my name is Simeo, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for that comes from Evans, and it is, what do you think of a new shield operator in Rainbow Six Siege that can charge through normal walls? I don't know about you guys, but this sounds incredible. The idea of charging into the objective room through a wall with a shield, causing mass chaos, your teammates just charge in behind you, you make the callouts of where the enemy is, in the confusion you take everyone out, like that just sounds badass. I'm assuming you're referring to this picture, which literally looks like what you're describing. You got a shield in front of everyone, it looks like he's charging through some sort of wall, and while I know that this is just advertising, I know that this is just a picture that they created to try to sell Rainbow Six Siege, the idea of having some sort of shield operator added into the game that has this functionality sounds pretty badass. Now, the one problem I can think of with this guy, and maybe one of the reasons why they would be hesitant to add him on into the game, is that we are moving into Sledge's territory. Sledge, of course, is all about opening up holes so they can see into the objective room, and that's essentially what the shield operator does. And while I would not go as far to say that Sledge would all of a sudden become obsolete, because that wouldn't just be the case. Sledge, of course, is going to be using an assault rifle, while this other guy is going to be using a shield. The shield guy can't charge through a window that's reinforced by castle, for example. He also probably wouldn't be able to do anything on a ceiling. Sledge, of course, can open up holes above the objective, and so Sledge would still have his place, but we are muddying the waters here a bit. Like, we're really moving into other characters' territory, and they may see that as a problem. If that was pushing things too far, I think that one fair compromise to this is that if there was another shield added into the game, it would be really cool if they could charge through a normal barricade. Not a wall or anything like that, but just a normal barricade that's fully up. If they could just charge on through and catch the enemy by surprise, honestly, I could see that being a viable tactic. One of the reasons why people put up barricades is so that they're notified when the enemy is heading from a certain location. If all of a sudden a shield charges through a barricade and then his entire team flushes in behind and then just destroys everyone in that room because they're just not expecting it, that could be a really valid tactic. So if they don't want to just have someone that can charge through walls, which admittedly is pretty powerful, just the simple option of charging through a barricade might be enough to make things interesting to add in an operator that has that kind of ability. And so let me know what you guys think of this idea. Do you think it'd be a really cool addition into the game? Do you think that it's pushing too far into the territory of other operators? Do you think it's the worst idea ever and you don't want it to be in Rainbow Six Siege at all? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. The next question comes from John, and it is, what do you think about there being no all-class weapons in Battlefield 1? Do you think that shotguns or others should be available for all classes? I might be in the minority here, but I like the way that they balance things out, and I like the fact that there isn't weapons available for all classes. This was a small issue that I had with Battlefield 4 and even a little bit with Battlefield 3, is that because you could use carbines, you could use shotguns, you could use all of these weapons, DMRs, on basically any class, each class didn't really feel as unique and distinctive from all of the others. You could run around as a recon with a carbine. You could run around as an assault player using a designated marksman rifle and take out snipers at a distance. There wasn't this clear defined role for all of the kits, and because of that, when you did go toe-to-toe with someone, it was really hard to understand what strengths and weaknesses that you were going to go against because you weren't really sure what kind of class of weapon that they were going to be using. You see a recon out in the distance, more often than not, they're probably using a bolt-action rifle, but they could be using a carbine. If you see a recon around the corner on you, you might be thinking, all right, I have this advantage, but no, he's actually using a shotgun and just blast your face off. And while this isn't the worst thing ever, like I said, it was just a small issue with Battlefield 4, the thing I really like about Battlefield 1 is that each and every single class has its role, it's very distinctive, and as soon as you start to move into other classes' territory, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. This is the reason why I think the snipers were so powerful during the Battlefield 1 beta, because as long as they're playing their class appropriately and keeping their distance, they didn't have much competition. They didn't have to worry about an assault class switching over to a designated marksman rifle and taking them out because it just simply wasn't possible. And while I know that some might bring up the argument that this kind of system requires less skill because it's more determined on what weapon that you're using if you're going to win that firefight. If you're using a designated marksman rifle and someone rounds the corner as the assault class and they have a shotgun or a submachine gun, you're probably not going to come out of it alive because of the gun that you're using, and that might rub people the wrong way. But I gotta say that I liked the system because it really forced you to think about combat a little bit differently, and it just requires a different kind of skill. Yes, your gun is going to be at a disadvantage in some situations, but if you work around it, at least for me, it was very rewarding. Playing as the assault class and moving through the ruins and moving through all the buildings and closing the gap on the enemy and then being able to take advantage of my gun was very rewarding. Playing as a medic and taking an assault player who had the advantage on me is also very satisfying. And so as soon as you add in these all-kit weapons, you pretty much throw that out the window. We get what we have with Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing, I like the way that things are set up right now in Battlefield 1. Who knows, maybe I'll change my tune when the game releases. I'll think that they need to add in more weapon variety. They need to have all-kit weapons for every single one of the classes to add in more flavor into the game. But at least right now, I like the way that things are heading, and I'm curious to see how the game progresses when we finally get our hands on Battlefield 1. The next question comes from Emmanuel, and it is, what do you think about Valkyrie's black eye being reduced from 3 instead of 4 in Rainbow Six Siege? I'm okay with it. I know that Valkyrie has been getting kicked in the face recently. There was 2 patches in a row where she saw a nerf. The first one was a nerf to her shotgun, which was pretty severe, and the second one was that reduction in how many cameras that she could have. But I still think that she's a solid operator. She's no longer the must pick that she used to be, but honestly, that's a good thing. We do not want operators that are picked all the time for every map. We want operators that are picked some of the time for a certain map because that means that they're probably well balanced. You don't play Frost every round because you think that she's a must pick. You play her because she's a solid operator that makes sense on a certain objective. Same goes for Twitch. Same goes for a lot of the operators in Rainbow Six Siege. And this is one of the things that I really have to commend Ubisoft for doing. For all the faults that they have, for all the issues that the game has, one of the things that they've done very, very well is that operator balance has been very consistent, where if you play an operator, in general, you're going to be competitive and you're going to do very well as long as you play that operator appropriately. And of course, there are a couple exceptions here and there. There have been some that have risen to the top. We've got some at the bottom, like IQ, for example. In general, they've done a very good job with that, and I think that Valkyrie is finally in that well-balanced state. She's a great operator. 3 cameras still wins rounds for you. It still gives your team a lot of valuable information, but she's not that overpowered god up in the sky that lets you know everything that's happening on the map, and in my opinion, that is a good thing for Rainbow Six Siege. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Give me your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video. Do you completely disagree? You think that Valkyrie nerf went too far? Do you love the idea of the shield operator? As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode of Sunday Mailbox, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.